Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Mean Gene Show here on ESPN 97.5, Sunday, August 11th, 2024. Welcome all you folks who just finished listening to the Dallas Cowboys get their asses kicked. Okay, it was only about 1 point. It was only about 1 point, and it was at the last minute, which made it so thrilling for me because my producer, AJ, we talked about this last week. And when I knew I had to come in here today, I knew that game was going to be on. And I said, yes, if they lose, it's going to be a damn good show.
I mean, it's about 1 point against people who might get cut, be on practice squads, maybe in the XFL or UFL. So, I mean, I'm not
No,
tripping on it.
that team you saw today is going to be
Oh,
your
my
team.
gosh. You know,
That you're going to be stuck with that
the
team
NFL will wish for that.
that you
But
saw in the fourth quarter.
once once CD gets paid, once everybody gets good, we're going to be green.
Okay, all right, cool. Well, we're going to talk about that. All right, folks. So, hey, welcome back for another episode. Hope you enjoying your weekend. And look, we're going to get into the Olympics today because the closing ceremony, which is something that I watch all the time, it's very good. If you ever, if you haven't watched it, you'll probably be able to watch the delayed version of that tonight. But we're going to talk about NFL preseason week 1. We're going to look at the games that were played on Friday, Saturday, and today we will also talk about the Texans and the Steelers game. Okay, I think I got a text from my former producer, and he just was rubbing it in that he hoped that the Texans just beat the brakes off the Steelers, which they did win that game. But it's like you just said, AJ, it's preseason, right? So we're going to talk about that. C.J. Stroud, got a chance to see him out there along with Justin Fields, and we also are going to get like deeper into football talk here because we only got a couple of more weeks before the regular season, and I promised you that I would cover every division in football before the season starts. So today we're going to talk about the AFC South, and of course we will also talk about the AFC North. So we will have those predictions, but I won't be alone because later on in the show we are going to have Jeremy Brenham from ESPN 97.5 here, the Killer Bees. You might have heard that name before. He's also the voice of the University of Houston Cougars. He's going to join me as we get into the Texans talk and see exactly what's going to be happening for 2024. And then the second hour, we will get into the AFC North predictions with CBSSports.com senior writer Brian DiArdo. We had him on last week, but he specifically covers the AFC North. So we're going to be talking about that today. So, AJ, as I stated, the Olympics is over, okay? And I want to say congratulations to the U.S. men's and women's basketball team, gold medal winners, and also the women's soccer team, okay? They also were able to bring home the gold. So, look, I'm going to go on record and say that this was probably one of the most exciting Summer Olympics that I have seen in a while. And I think when you look at the medal count and exactly how the United States did, you would agree with me. What do you say about that, AJ?
Oh, for sure, absolutely. I mean, like you said, even soccer winning as well. I mean, that was a testament to just how many good athletes that we have.
Over Brazil, the
Right,
women's, yeah.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. And they pride themselves in soccer. But that was great. And of course, basketball, that's my favorite sport. I'm repping Devin Booker right now, one of my favorite players. So just really glad seeing them being able to come together. I know we were talking earlier before the show, talking about the women's, how they narrowly won the game. But I mean, that I'm glad they were just able to win. But one thing that we do have to take away though is that these other teams, in terms of the men's basketball team, they're gonna catch up. Like I think they're catching up slowly. I mean, France, you saw Wemby. I mean, he had 20 points. I think he had a double double yesterday against the U.S. And we sent basically like the Avengers, the best of the best there,
Yeah,
and it
but
was a little struggle. But I mean,
that's true.
2028 is
And,
gonna be.
and, and you're noticing that some of the best just happens to be playing for these other countries,
Right.
which is making it a lot tougher. And we saw that today in the gold medal game for the women's, which, look, this is the time of the year that I bite my fingernails because mostly during football games. But the game today between the United States and France was just, I don't know what was on the minds of the USA women's team. But I don't know. I think they finished with like 15 or 16 turnovers. It was horrible.
I think it was like 19 turnovers actually.
Well,
So.
14 in the first
Oh
half.
yeah,
Which
that's
was just
absurd.
unreal.
That's
So
absurd.
I don't know, but they have a couple of girls on that France team that play in the WNBA. But this is what we're starting to see, especially with basketball, is that the best. We're playing the best of the best. These, especially even with the France team, you got Rudy Gobert, you got Wemby and Batum. I mean, look here, it's just getting tougher. So And not to mention that these guys, they play with these guys during the regular NBA season and WNBA season. So they know everything that they do, their moves. But look, we would take the 1 point victory because I don't know what would have happened if the USA women's would have lost that game today, because we already heard the talk about the individuals that did not make the team, and we also saw with the WNBA All Star versus the U.S. Olympic team what happened there. You still had a lot of All Star WNBA players that could have made this team that didn't, and not to mention the rookies, Reese and Caitlin Clark. So, but look, I mean, I'm just glad they got the win because we would have heard nothing but, I told you so. You should have sent this person and that person. So anyway, looking at the overall count here, and this was, like I said, it was an impressive Olympics all the way around. The United States ended up with a total of, and I want to get this right for you, 126 medals. And 40 of those were gold, 44 silver, 42 bronze. And I believe we tied with China, if I'm not mistaken, because I do believe we tied with them. But this was an impressive Olympics for the USA. Now, I will have to talk about the one sport which I talked to you guys about as soon as I got here, and that was breakdancing. I think breakdancing is like 30 years too damn late, because breakdancing was in back in the day and I'm going way back in the day because AJ, we know that you were born in 2002, so we can't go back far. But breakdancing was like back in the 80s, early 80s, and Mean Gene used to be a breakdancer. That's why I got that bald spot in the back of my head, because if you spin around on the floor a lot, you're not going to have hair like in about 30 years or 40 years. So that's what I was noticing this weekend. All of those young guys, they're going to have like a LeBron James type ball spot in their head in the next couple
I'll
of
make
years.
sure I don't try to do
Yeah, don't do it, because you got your dreads now. You don't, because man, but you have to do a lot of spinning to get to the core of your head.
True.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I mean, I really do have a spot here, but I don't know. It just seemed out of place for me in the Olympics. I mean, I'm okay with break dancing and competitions, but I just don't think it should be an Olympic event. I don't know how the hell it got in there. I'm starting to wonder about even the handball. The handball I mean, what is it? Basketball? Is it soccer? What the hell is it?
I don't even know, honestly.
It's just, I mean, because it's just like a meaningless sport. But nevertheless, the United States did good, but boxing, I was also a little bit disappointed in that the fact that the United States, we just don't have the boxers that we once had with the Roy Jones and the Evander Holyfields of the world. We had those guys that shine through the Olympics, but this year it just wasn't there. So anyway, it's all said and done. It went by very quick, and now the 2028 Olympics will be in Los Angeles, California. So look, we get to have it on our ground. So maybe we get some home cooking, just like the French did during these Olympics, because how does France men's basketball team and women's basketball team get to play for the gold? Some of those games leading up to this was questionable, in my opinion. But hey, you know what they say: when you're in Rome, you do as the Romans, right? Is that pretty much how it goes? But anyway,
I guess so.
we did really, really, really well. So I definitely have to give the congratulations to the United States. So, all right, for those of you listening to us on 97.5 ESPN, you can also get us on YouTube, all right? And you can also follow us on Twitch. And, of course, you can call in if you want to be part of the show, especially Texans fans. I want to get your thoughts on what you saw this weekend, Friday night, with the Steelers and the Texans. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about that a little bit later with one of the killer bees here on 97.5 ESPN, Jeremy Branham. Get your thoughts on what this team is going to look like, and we're going to go very much in detail with the AFC South, and can the Texans repeat what they did last year and win that AFC South? We did get to see the Colts today. They played who was it? The Denver Broncos, I believe, and we also got to see the Jaguars. So we sort of looking at all of these teams. The Titans, they also play. So we, I give you my thoughts on exactly what I think is going to take place. Um, Also, you can let me give you the telephone number. Okay, 713-780-3776. 713-780-3776. You call in, you tell AJ who you are, and look, Texans fans always have access to Mean Gene. Titans fans, Colts fans, we might make you wait on hold for damn near to the end of the show before I get to you. But I'll let you chime in with whatever you have. The Colts, look, very interesting. We got to keep our eyes on the Indianapolis Colts because, number one, Anthony Richardson is back. And look, one thing, and you got to keep your enemies close. If you're a Texans fan, you want to know what's going on with this team, with the Colts. You want to know what's going on with the Jaguars. Now we got a Jaguar fan. His name is Jimmy Jaguar. He already told me he's going to be calling in to the show in the next couple of weeks. I said, just like I told you last week, AJ, he can call in when his team is 0-7. That's the best time to call in and talk Jaguars football is when you guys go 0-10 or something like that. I will open up the lines and you can just come in as often as you want. But no, it's good. So he's going to come on and talk a little bit. Titans, brand new looking team there. Will Levis trying to find his way. You don't want to miss a little bit later when we talk about those 2024 rookies that will be starting. Some of them may not start, but for the most part, Jaden Daniels, got to look at him yesterday from the Washington Commanders. Also, Caleb Williams. We will talk about Caleb Williams a little bit as far as his outing with the Chicago Bears and all of that. So what you need to do, folks, is just stick around a little bit. We are going to take a break, and when we come back, you got more of the Mean Gene Show right here on ESPN 97.5 Houston.
Now back to Mean Gene, broadcasting live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios.
All right, we are back once again. It's the Mean Gene Show here on a Sunday evening. And look, get used to this. We are in the preseason right now, but pretty soon, in a couple of weeks, we're going to be full steam ahead because when the season kicks off on Thursday, September 5th, and then, of course, you got a Friday game over in Brazil, and then you got your weekend, your Sunday games. So the Mean Gene Show is your place to tune in for the breakdown of all of those games that will be played, even the ones on Thursday nights. And we won't always have a Friday night. That's some new stuff that the NFL is doing. Why Brazil? I don't know. It's just, we're just all over the damn place. If you like to travel, hey, keep your passport up to date because the NFL plays all over the world, as you do know. But Brazil should be interesting. But we're going to be here every Sunday night. Now, there might be some nights when the Dallas Cowboys have a Sunday night game, and you know, they already told me, Mean Gene, we know how much you love the Cowboys. That's why you're not allowed in the studios on Sunday nights when the Cowboys play, because we don't want you to get fired because we know you got nice things to say about them. But so there's a couple of Sunday nights that I will not be here, but Cowboy fans are going to love it because they will be playing while I'm away. So, all right. Want to kind of get into what took place here with the preseason. So this is sort of like the real preseason, week one. I think you don't really count that Hall of Fame game as week one, at least where you can't tell that to the Bears and the Texans because they played it, right? So week two for them. But for everybody else, this really kind of kicked off week one. And look, so I have a big family, right? And they like all sorts of teams. It's not like one of those families where everyone in the family is a Cowboys fan or this, that, and the other. We have Cowboy fans, Ravens fans, Bears, Steelers, you name it, okay? So last night I get a call from one of my nephews who just happened to live in Chicago, okay? His name is Marcel. So he wanted to get my thoughts on the Bears and Caleb Williams because I have another nephew in Chicago who's actually in radio, and he's going to be here September 15th. He's scheduled to be here in studio.
That's awesome.
And he's a Bears fan. So I'm going to already let you know in advance, AJ, never turn his mic on the whole time that he's here with me. Okay. Yeah,
I don't think he would like that.
Well, it doesn't matter because, okay. You know, but anyway, I'm one of those mean uncles, okay? But no, so he's going to be here anyway. Anthony's going to be here with me, and we're going to talk about these Bears. So look, all right, now let me give you my thoughts on what I saw with the Bears. I mean, look, the score of that preseason game, do I really need to give scores? It was a meaningless type game there, but I think everyone in America wanted to see what this number one pick for the Bears was going to do, and he did pretty good. I must say so myself. Now, look, you know, I used to work for USC. And I worked for USC back in the days when Pete Carroll was there, and I ran into Pete Carroll quite a bit. I also ran into Justin Fargas and Reggie Bush and Troy Polamalu. It was that USC team. So, and I also had conversations with Matt Castle, you know, and this was after Carson Palmer had already left. So, I mean, and what I'm getting at is that USC quarterbacks they don't have a great NFL reputation. Carson Palmer might be, you know, a little different there, but Caleb Williams is not necessarily a homegrown USC quarterback because we know he played his football elsewhere before transferring to USC. I went to the Pac-12 championship game a couple of years ago in Las Vegas, and they played Utah in a game that I thought USC should have won, and he just didn't impress me at all. And that's not good for me to say because I am a USC guy, you know. And a Razorback, too. So you hear me talk about two college teams that I follow on a regular basis. But so I wasn't impressed. And, you know, and for the Bears to have, you know, did what they did. Look, I always said, and I'm not the only one that says this, that the Bears, if you want a good quarterback run, then just go to the Chicago Bears. They haven't had a great quarterback since Jay Cutler, in my opinion, anyway. And
you thought he was great?
Well, by their standards, maybe, yeah. But we're not even going to go as far back as 85 and Jim McMahon, okay? Right. That's probably when they had their last great quarterback. Mm-hmm. But Cutler was okay. And so now we saw the Trubisky move, and I didn't, you know. But that was it, okay? Bears fans, I know they don't want to hear that. They want to talk about the guy they got now. And look, I think Caleb Williams looked pretty good. He looked really good. I would give him his props here, and let me just look at these stats here. I mean, he only got a couple of reps out there, which is, I thought he should have probably played early on, but he didn't in that Hall of Fame game. So he was 4-7, 95 yards, and I think he led the team to a couple of, field goal drives, no touchdowns. But nevertheless, he hit his tight end. He seems like a leader. He can't sing worth a damn. I think if you watch
Hard Knocks, yeah.
yeah, that's one thing Bears fans don't have to worry about him singing. But no, look, when you look at what C.J. Stroud did for the Texans, and I know Bears fans are like, yes, man, can he do it? Can he do it? And I don't know. There's like 6 quarterbacks in this 2024 rookie class that have a chance to do something close. And when you look at Bryce Young, and I think I said this last week, he just wasn't given any pieces. And I think Dustin Pfeiffer, my Sports Kings co-host, confirmed that he just wasn't given the pieces that C.J. Stroud was given. But Caleb Williams has some pieces. And we, with the tight end, Cole Kmet, you look at the wide receivers, Keenan Allen. So, I mean, maybe they can do something. And the Bears do have a defense. So I will sign off on Caleb Williams. I will. Your thoughts, AJ?
No, definitely. I mean, if you saw at least some of the preseason game yesterday, he had some pretty good throws. I know he was rolling to the right, and he had like one kind of Aaron Rodgers-esque
that was
throw
a good one
in a tight window. Yeah, that was nice.
For a rookie quarterback. That looked
sure.
pretty damn good.
For sure. I think he has all the capabilities, and like you said, he's walking into a great situation, the wide receiver core, having DJ Moore, who just got a new extension, having Rome Odunze, having Keenan Allen. So they definitely have a chance, in my opinion, to be a wild card caliber team. I mean, I think predicting like an 8 to 9 win season, maybe even 10 wins, if they, like overachieve or, upset some teams, they could beat the Lions in the game because, in the NFC North are also in the Packers.
Yeah.
So they should be solid for sure.
Can't wait to talk about that division because I need to see a little bit more. I'm not going to count the Lions out, and we got time to get to them and talk about them. But as far as these rookie quarterbacks, it is more likely than unlikely that one of these quarterbacks, when I say one of these, I'm talking about Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy, Drake May, depending on what the Patriots are going to do with that starting quarterback position. Michael Penix Jr. Now, he may not have as much opportunities with Kirk Cousins. That starter has already been named. But Bo Nix, I like what I saw from Bo Nix today. So one, maybe two of these quarterbacks have an opportunity to do something special for their teams like C.J. Stroud did. But look, if you're expecting, to just really reduplicate what the Texans did, come on now. It just ain't going to happen. You got to have all the ingredients. You got to have a defense. Mind you, this Texans team, and cannot wait to talk with Jeremy about this team and how they have reloaded with talent. Just imagine, you get to the playoffs last year, you win the division, and then you bring in Danielle Hunter, Danico Autry, Joe Mixon, and Stephon Diggs. Are you kidding me? And you think this team is going to be worse than so just stick around. I mean, the AFC South is going to be interesting. But another one of these quarterbacks that kind of stood out to me was Jaden Daniels, who ran for a touchdown after throwing a perfectly placed deep pass in his first NFL competition to get Washington into the Jets territory in that 2017 preseason opener loss to the Jets. So, hey, we're talking about the number 2 overall pick from LSU. And were you able to see any of that?
I saw some of the highlights and stuff. I know I saw that one touchdown that Jaden Daniels had. He ran in. He had a couple of good throws. That's just one thing about the Cowboys being in the NFC East. I'm just intrigued by the Commanders, because they added a lot of different veterans to the defense. Obviously, Dan Quinn was the DC in Dallas, and he
took a lot of players too from the Cowboys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as a head coach, even though they lost to the Patriots and blew that lead, he still led them to the Super Bowl, of course, when they had Shanahan and stuff. So I'm intrigued by them, but it's a wait and see type of thing, from my opinion.
I know it's early, but look, I think if you're looking at these rookie quarterbacks here, and let me Jaden Daniels. So he was only 2 for 3, 45 yards there. And look, they have a lot of quarterbacks on that Commanders team. I don't know who's going to be the number 2. I think Quinn has already made it official that it would be Jaden Daniels as the starter. So now you're looking at Marcus Mariota, who has been like a journeyman now in the NFL. He's been around the block, as they say. And then you got Hartman, of course, and Driscoll, who had a pretty decent game. No one had a touchdown, so that's kind of interesting. I think they still kind of well, except for a passing touchdown is what I'm trying to say. So Daniels did get in with a 3-yard run there. But so hey, like I said, these rookie quarterbacks in 2024 are going to be exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing exactly who is going to have a C.J. Stroud like performance, and then also Michael Penix Jr. Also looking pretty good in his debut with the Falcons. So I think, like I said, we already know that it's going to be Kirk Cousins at the helm there, but I think Falcon fans, I mean, I think you have something to look forward to there when it comes to. And I think that was that the Friday night game that they played there.
I believe so.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
so that was with the Dolphins there, and just
Right.
kind of looking at his numbers. So look here, 9 of 16, 104 yards there, and of course, I mean, and they also have Heineke, however you want to pronounce that name. So should be pretty interesting there in the NFC South. So I can't wait to talk about the NFC South, and that's when we'll definitely have Dustin Pfeiffer on for sure to tell you what they might do. And then look, J.J. McCarthy. Probably put up bigger numbers than anyone. Well, him and Bo Nix. So look here, I think this guy. I don't know. I would probably, from what I just saw this weekend with the Vikings, I would probably give J.J. McCarthy the start over Sam Darnold. I know Darnold's been around for a while. I think J.J. McCarthy outplayed him.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely. And he had that interception earlier, and a lot of people, were like, "Oh, he's looking like that quarterback out of Michigan who didn't, take a lot of shots." But he ended up getting his poise. I really like that he's gonna be under Kevin O'Connell, the head coach. He's a really intelligent football mind, and being the head coach there, obviously offensive coordinator when the Rams won a few years ago. So I think that he's gonna flourish with them, with Justin Jefferson specifically too. So I'm really excited for JJ. And Sam Darnold, I mean, he'll be a good backup to him. But yeah, I think that, I mean, honestly, you drafted him in the first round that early, traded for him. I mean, hey,
Talking about another
look it
USC
up.
quarterback.
Yeah.
He's homegrown.
Yeah.
Unlike Caleb, Williams. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many more chances he'll be able to get, but we should see. But hey, look, let's go ahead and break. When we come back, we're going to get into the Texans with one of the killer bees, ESPN 97.5, Jeremy Brenham. So stick around. It's the Mean Gene Show right here on ESPN 97.5.
You're listening to The Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
for the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
Hey, y'all. We gonna play some ball today. Get somebody else. Hey, lock in for your brother today. You don't fit the man next to you. We've been beating up on each other. Let's beat up on that guy. Let's get it, man. Bring it up. Texas on 3. 1, 2, 3. Texas. 2, 3.
Right. So we are back once again. It's the Mean Gene Show here on ESPN 97.5. My next guest. Look, I can talk Texans football, and I will be the first to tell you I don't know everything about this team, especially the history of it. Having moved here like 7 years ago. But this is where we go to the experts, and it's just nice when you can find one just like right down the hall. And I am more than happy to bring on one of the co-hosts of the Killer Bees here on ESPN 97.5, the Afternoon Drive Show, and he's also the voice of the U of H Cougars. Please welcome to the show, Jeremy Brenham. Jeremy, what's up?
Not a lot. You're using that word experts way too loosely, Mean Gene. I'm ready to disappoint you in the next 12 minutes.
Oh, no. Look, I would be disappointing all of our listeners with my lack of knowledge. I know that you guys talk very highly of this team. I listen to your show. I know you guys know the ins and outs, but look, man, you got to tell me what you think so far, not maybe so much from the Hall of Fame game, but what did you see? What did you like? What did you not like in that first official preseason game versus the Steelers?
Yeah, I mean, very small doses, right? So it's hard to really get a huge temperature on this team. We saw the starters play for 2 possessions offensively. First possession stalled out. A lot of people were saying, hey, pass interference. It's an exhibition game. Didn't really care too much about that. And then they had a short field in that second possession, and, C.J. Stroud to Tank Dell, which was very common last year, picking up right where they left off, which is great to see because some people were a little worried about Tank Dell, whether it was off the broken leg or if it was, the off-season shooting in Florida. But it doesn't look like he's missed a stride. He's their third receiver. So the offense is going to be pretty electric. On the defensive side, Danielle Hunter didn't play much, but in the time that he played, he created havoc. First offensive play for Pittsburgh. It gets right around the right tackle, is in Fields' face. Now, they actually got some pretty good yardage off of that play, but you go back and watch Hunter. Hunter just tore up that right tackle, hit him like a little Euro jab step. It was like a basketball move, and it wasn't even his best move. Just a little jab right, went around him, and created some pressure. And then he had that sack later where he just basically breathed on Justin Fields, and he was so intimidated that he fell down. Things I didn't like. Dameon Pierce. We've been hearing these great reports from training camp, and he's going to be outstanding. He's back to who he was as a rookie. And look, he was playing behind an offensive line that was missing 3 of their 5 starters. They were missing a majority of their starters, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. But I saw indecisiveness. I saw a running back who was showing the same things he showed last year, where it's like, okay, I need to hit this hole right here, this cut, and it's a bunch of choppy steps, and he's slow getting there. So that's something I didn't like. And then on the defensive side, I would say really the entire second and third teams, I didn't think played all that well, but especially the secondary. I think this defense could be in trouble if they have injuries. Knock on wood, they don't. But I wasn't too pleased with the 2s and 3s, especially in the secondary.
Well, you know what, and that's one of the things I also wanted to talk to you about, this depth chart, which, I'm sitting here looking at this, and you talk about Dameon Pierce. I mean, how critical was it for the Texans to go out and find someone like a Joe Mixon and get him in here?
I think it was huge. And the opinions on Joe Mixon vary, right? How much of an upgrade is he over Devin Singletary? I think one thing that people forget, though, when they talk about that, Devin Singletary is a free agent. Like, he had his options to go other places, too. So it's not like the Texans had him under a contract and released him. But they of course feel like Joe Mixon's an upgrade over Devin Singletary. I think it's big just because he's kind of a workhorse, He's been pretty consistent in terms of injuries. Ironically, he's currently injured, but I was seeing that he was back at camp today, so hopefully he's fine by week 1. He can help you in the passing game a little bit. I'm curious what he does in pass protection. I didn't watch Bengals games every single offensive snap. What I caught of the Bengals was whenever they were in prime time and red zone channel. But if you take the opinion of Cincinnati fans, They didn't think that Joe Mixon was very good in pass protection. So is he a 3-down running back? I think the Texans feel like he is. I'm curious what he does in pass pro. And then I think that's one of the reasons they brought in Cam Akers, too. It's like, okay, there's this veteran that's out there. Yes, he's coming off an Achilles. Maybe we don't need him early in the season, but maybe by week 6, week 8, he can evolve into that number 2 running back if Dameon Pierce doesn't get to where we want him to go. I kind of view Cam Akers as Dameon Pierce insurance. Where Pierce struggles, well, you got this veteran that can go and give you a little bit of juice. And if Pierce doesn't struggle, well, Cam Akers on a 1-year deal, it didn't cost you a whole lot.
Yeah, that's a pretty good position to be in. Once again, folks, you are listening to the voice of the Killer Bees. He's also the voice of the University of Houston Cougars, Jeremy Branham, on the Mean Gene Show here. So when you look at what the Texans did last year, you win the division, get into the playoffs, were you shocked when they were able to land the likes of a Danielle Hunter, a Joe Mixon, and a Stephon Diggs?
Yeah, I think I would consider it shocked, yes. We don't normally see the Texans as an organization that makes these big, splashy, sexy hires. And that's probably unfair to Nick Caserio. Like, we kind of lump in the entire organization history as to what Nick Caserio is going to do as a general manager. I think fans have a nasty habit of that. I think, well, this is what we've always done. Well, Nick Caserio is just recently the general manager, and this is the first time he's coming off a winning season. So maybe it's not fair to characterize the Texans in a totality viewpoint when talking specifically about Nick. But, yeah, I mean, going into the offseason, you're telling me that you're going to get Danielle Hunter, Stephon Diggs, Joe Mixon, all of this star power. Yeah, it's stunning. It's stunning, especially for the history of the Texans, which I just told you not to do. But, yeah, I mean, it really is. But at the same time, I love it. I like the aggression. You have a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal, and if you look at Super Bowl champions since 2011, ESPN did a really good article last week about Super Bowl champions and where they're at in terms of their contract, rookie contract, first contract, post first contract. And it's like every single Super Bowl champion, with the exception of Mahomes, has either been on his rookie deal or he's been after his first deal. So we don't consider the Texans as this win-now organization because they're young. And, you have Stroud and Anderson only in their second year, Tank in their second year. But since 2011, most of the quarterbacks that have won a Super Bowl have been on their rookie deal. So perhaps it's more win now than we think because the Texans have to strike while C.J. Stroud's on that rookie deal. So I applaud Nick Caserio for the aggression. Like, obviously, I like the Hunter signing, the Mixon signing, or the trade was fine. You didn't give up anything. The Diggs one you can question because that's going to be a pretty big, pretty early second-round pick, I should say. But the thing that I will give Caserio a lot of credit for is that he's being super aggressive and going for it when the Texans have to be super aggressive and go for it because C.J. Stroud's still on that rookie deal.
Okay. All right. Now I want to get your thoughts before I let you go on the AFC South, which I am going to be predicting this division here in a little bit, but which is I think it's kind of easy, but I don't want to say what's easy, especially when the Texans are going to open up against a division rival in the Colts. So I want to get your thoughts, Jeremy, on where you think the AFC South, what it's going to look like this year.
Yeah, probably bottom half of the NFL. Some people have it like the second to last or even the worst division in the NFL. I think it's a little better than that. I have it closer to the middle than the bottom, but I do have it in the bottom half. Now, look, Texans were in a race with the Colts all the way to the final game last year, and the Colts didn't have their starting quarterback for a majority of the season. And they also didn't have Jonathan Taylor for a good chunk of that season. Shane Steichen's a heck of a coach. So I like the Colts roster quite a bit. Jacksonville kind of choked to give the division away late in the year, too. So, that's a team that I think is better than people give them credit for. Like, they're not a pushover. They're very easily an above 500 team, I think. And I think that Doug Peterson's a great coach. Titans are interesting because I think they have the worst roster in the division, but they have a new coach. And sometimes new coaches can bring new life into a team, offensive-minded, second-year quarterback. So I'm interested to see what they look like. I think at most they win 6 games, but maybe they're a tough out. Maybe they're not as easy to beat as they were last year. So I have the Texans. I have the AFC South rather bottom half of the NFL, but closer to the middle than the bottom.
Okay. All right. Hey, Jeremy, look, man, you're going to be my eyes and ears this year. And I hope you come back and join us so we can talk some more Texans football.
Anytime you need me, Mean Gene. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, appreciate it. All right, folks, there you go. The co-host of the Killer Bees. You can catch the Killer Bees show here every weekday in the afternoons right here on ESPN 97.5. And, of course, Jeremy is also the voice of the U of H Cougars. So good insights there, just looking at this team. And you know, I forget about Dameon Pierce, even though I had him as my running back last year. And I think I ended up dropping him at some point for Singletary, right? But now, and I almost forgot about Cam Akers. So AJ just kind of looks like the depth chart for the Texans. And I couldn't go in the detail as much as I wanted to with Jeremy, but the running back depth chart, the wide receiver depth chart is pretty impressive.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, everyone's regarding the Texans as, one of the best receiving corps, with Nico Collins, with Tank Dell, and, of course, adding in Stephon Diggs. I know on their show, on the Killer Bees, they talked about, if they thought that Cam Akers would make the team or if he'll be, maybe on practice squad or might get cut, something like that. But I think for sure they have a foundation with Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce. So we'll see what happens in the rest of the preseason for Akers. But they have a good rotation, like you said.
Yeah. And we didn't even mention Ogunbowale. Which I always mess up that name.
Right.
I'm sorry, but look, this guy, if you don't use him as a running back, he could always kick some field goals,
That's true. I remember that from last year, too. I was at that Tampa game, too, because my dad's a Bucs fan, and I saw him make that field goal. That was
cool. Incredible. You don't find too many running backs when you need them that can come out and kick a 30-yard field goal. But no, this team is really, really stacked. And Tank Dell, John Miche, Noah Brown. They are just really, really stacked at every position. So it's going to be interesting. So, look, when we come back here to wrap up the hour, I am going to comment on some of the things that Jeremy stated and give you my thoughts on the Texans as well. So, folks, once again, a fast-moving show, fast-moving hour here. You are listening to the Mean Gene Show right here on ESPN 97.5.
This is the Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
All right, we are back here, the last segment of the first hour, and you just heard me speaking with one of the Killer Bees here on ESPN 97.5, Jeremy Brenham, talking Texans football. All right, so I'm going to pick the AFC South right now, and I'm going to give a little bit of history about it as I make my picks here. So when we look at the Texans, and let's just go back to 2020, all right, you got a team that finished third in that division. Jacksonville was worse that year. The Texans was 4-12 that year. Jacksonville 1-15. 2021, and mind you, 2020, the COVID year, right? So 2021, Texans 4-13. Jacksonville 3-14. 2022, Texans traded place with Jacksonville. They go 3-13-1. And you look at 2023, the Texans 10-7, Jacksonville 9-8, Indianapolis 9-8, and Tennessee 6-11. So, and I mean, things just went the way the Texans wanted them to go. But I mean, who knew and who expected things to go that way with a rookie head coach, a great draft, and just great coaching, and just all around. Because look, Indianapolis, they also finished 9-8 with Jacksonville, and who knows what would have happened if Anthony Richardson had played the whole year. That team is still somewhat, question mark. But anyway, I have the Texans going. Oh, well, I'm not going to give you a prediction as far as how many games I think they're going to win, because I just don't. I can't do that right now. But I will say that I have the Texans finishing first in that division. I have the Jaguars finishing second. Now, and this was a toss-up for me, AJ, because, the Colts giving Anthony Richardson a full year of health, if he's able to have that. And, of course, you got Trevor Lawrence coming off this humongous contract there. And I think the Jaguars were pissed last year that they didn't finish strong. They tanked it. I mean, they didn't tank it, but they sucked. They collapsed, yeah. At the worst possible moment there. But I don't think there's no looking back for the Texans, especially when I just give you the history of the last few years, how they have had horrible finishes over the last few years. 3-13-1 last year, 4-12, 4-13 the year before that, and 10-7. I just think is just the beginning. When you go out and add the people like Stephon Diggs, and your defense gets better, you already got a good defense. No, this team is, like I said, I'm not going to say, I know there's odds out there for them, 11 or more or whatever, 13. I don't know. But you do the math. You do the additions that what this team have, and not that the other teams didn't improve as well. But I just don't see the Texans finishing less than first in that division.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I agree. The expectations are real, but I think your list is definitely accurate. Some people may intertwine 2 and 3 because of how the Colts finished off with Anthony Richardson, but it's valid because, like you said about the Jaguars, I mean, they have pressure. Trevor Lawrence, he definitely has to play up to that contract in a sense now because, I mean, you got your bag now. So, I mean, what are you going to do on the field now? We'll see, because I know a lot of people think that he's a little overrated. That's a solid take, I would say, but I don't know. I mean, because he still has potential, I would say, as a number 1 pick. But yeah, the Texans, they should be the favorite, like you said, on both defensively and offensively, what they were able to acquire. They certainly should be one of the best teams in the AFC and should be a threat to at least make the AFC Championship game in the playoffs.
Yeah, and one reason why I got the Jaguars perhaps, finishing second behind them is because of Gabe Davis, who comes over. Look, Buffalo cannot wait till we talk about the AFC East, because Buffalo just, get rid of both of their 1 and 2 wide receivers but look, so you got Gabe Davis, and then you got their first round pick, Brian Thomas Jr., which it should be interesting. Not to mention, you still got Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram. So you still got those weapons for the Jacksonville Jaguars that you just can't really, overlook there. And maybe the offensive line improves, gets a little bit better. Now, they did lose Calvin Ridley, who, as a fantasy player, the guy just didn't get enough for me. And I don't know. I mean, that guy, he suspended a couple of years ago for gambling, and he just came back hard. And I just thought that they would keep him, but it just seemed like Christian Kirk seemed to be the favorite of Trevor Lawrence. And we'll see what Gabe Davis do with this team. But man, I losing that guy hurt there. But he did show up on another team. We'll be talking about that. But looking at the Colts, and one reason why they could certainly, I don't think they're going to win the AFC South, but one reason why they could finish in second place there is because of Jonathan Taylor, Micah Pittman Jr. That guy is really good. Josh Downs, of course. Then they got the rookie in Mitchell. So we should see. We should see. You know, like I say, we don't know. But what I did find interesting today was Joe Flacco is coming in as QB2, which is interesting. But hopefully nothing happens to Richardson. But man, Joe Flacco resurfaces once again. The guy just won't go away.
Right, he's Mr. Reliable. I mean, I'm sure he wants to forget that performance he had against the Texans last year, but I mean, how he came in and helped will the Browns to a playoff wildcard spot, I mean, that was really good. So he's still showing that he has obviously the IQ to be a competent quarterback, a backup as well.
And what's scary is having him in your division.
Right, that's true.
And knowing that he what the Texans did to the Browns and all of that. Right. Look, don't think that this guy has forgot about that, and let me tell you, man, if Anthony Richardson is to miss any time with the Colts, you got Joe Flacco. You got a Super Bowl champion, and you just saw what he did last year. Now, one of the biggest losses I thought from the Colts was Zach Moss, which just, I know Jonathan Taylor, once they got that little contract thing out the way and he was always your number one guy. But Zach Moss, I really think they will miss him in the running game.
Right, and he's going to be good for Cincinnati as well, as they lost Joe Mixon, obviously, going to Houston. So he'll be able to help, too. I mean, they had like a little good 1-2 game when Jonathan Taylor did return last year. So, yeah, they are going to miss him, like you said.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I mean, if Anthony Richardson, praying willfully, God willing, that he's able to stay healthy. Of course, we don't want him to, get injured again, but he has that running ability that's pretty.
Yeah. So, and the Texans are going to find out first game of the season.
That's true.
Going to find out real soon, how that goes. And Colts, Texans have always had, good games. But I just think, when you look at on paper, when you look at coaching, when you look at the additions, I don't see the Texans, I think they should be able to sweep. I think they could sweep the division. I know that's saying a whole lot, and that's going to get you a lot of wins right there if they do sweep the division. But looking at the Tennessee Titans, which, one of those teams, Derrick Henry no longer with the Titans, but offensively, the Titans did improve. They got Tony Pollard, if you call that an improvement there. Your guy from the Cowboys.
Certainly a good pickup, but not an improvement over Derrick Henry. But
yeah. Oh, no way at all.
We didn't keep him, but yeah.
And they also got Tyler Boyd, and then they get Calvin Ridley. Right. Now, this is a mistake that you don't like to make. You don't ever want to trade a decent wide receiver in your own division. So the Jacksonville Jaguars decided they no longer needed Calvin Ridley's services, now have to deal with him twice this year.
Exactly. And then defensively, the Titans also got L'Jarius Sneed from Kansas City, so that was a really good signing for them as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, it's just, and who knows? I mean, I could be wrong about picks 2, 3, and 4, but I'll be damned if I'm wrong about who's going to win the AFC South. All right, so you can argue with me all day on, no, it's going to be the Titans, it's going to be the Jaguars, it's going to be the Colts. You guys are just battling for second place and third and whatever, because I just don't see anything. And then another thing I want to go back and add here is that, we talk about, quarterbacks do get hurt. I know CJ Stroud did miss sometimes, but look, you got 3 starting quarterbacks on the Texans team. You got Davis Mills. Is it Davis Mills?
Yeah, it's Davis Mills.
And you also have Case Keenum.
You think Davis Mills is a capable starting quarterback?
Well, he was a starting quarterback,
And got how many?
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, the experience counts. Better than looking down the bench and seeing a rookie who ain't never seen the damn field, knowing you got to make a choice of getting somebody in there. So I would say that. So I don't know. I'd like to get someone here to give us a call, and if you agree or disagree with if you're a Texans, there's just no way in hell you disagree with my AFC South predictions. But I definitely want to talk about that. You want to go ahead and give us a call, 713-780-3776. Titans fans, Jaguar fans, Colts fans. You got 30 seconds to make your damn point if you call. Okay, I'm going to talk to you, but I'm just not going to hear a lot of mess from those fans. All right. But no, I like what what I'm seeing here. I think the division is going to be interesting, and I know Jeremy stated where he thought the division kind of lies within the AFC. And look, we haven't even talked about Patrick Mahomes, the AFC West. We will talk about. I just got a text. You're not talking about the Raiders. Well, I will. I will get to the Raiders next week. I think when we cover the AFC East and the AFC West, we'll talk about that. But no, it's all about the AFC South today. And these are my predictions. I got the Texans finishing first, Jaguars second, Colts third, Titans fourth. So let me know if you agree, you disagree, if you think if you don't think the Texans are going to win the AFC. Some folks think that they may not win, they may not make the playoffs, which we have seen teams go from worst to first, but that's not going to happen this year. I don't think you're going to see that with a team that's improving the way this team is. And I guess living here, and we're certainly going to give them some home cooking, but we kind of see the ins and outs of this team and what they do on a daily basis and where the management is, and just not in those dark days where they once were. And nobody's talking about that. Nobody wants to hear about it. Nobody wants to relive the dark days of the Texans and names, that we just don't care to mention. It's all about the now, the future. The future is now. And I think that's what people need to focus on. So, look, we're going to wrap up this first hour. When we come back the second hour, we have a lot to talk about. We're going to get into the AFC North. We'll talk about that. And I will have my great friend from CBSSports.com, senior writer Brian Diardo. He's going to join us. So, hey, come back, folks. Come back with your call, 713-780-3776. We'll talk to you in the next hour. It's the Mean Gene Show right here, ESPN 97.5. All right, welcome back to the second hour of the Mean Gene Show right here on ESPN 97.5. I am your host, Mean Gene, the Sports Machine. Now, you can also catch me as the host of the Sports Kings Show, which is a podcast on iHeartRadio, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. And that show is where my Sports Kings guys, Dustin Pfeiffer, and that would be Dennis Sharma and Downtown Wayne Brown. So those guys are always will be part of that show. And we will actually do a countdown of every game that's going to be played for the NFL season. And, of course, Sunday nights, we get to come here on ESPN 97.5 and talk about how right I was and how wrong they were and recap all of those games. So that's something to look forward to. So I want to acknowledge two individuals that I know you love these guys because you listen to them Monday through Fridays every morning. And that is John Granado and Lance Zierlein. They were inducted into the Texas Radio Hall of Fame. That is just an honor, and it's from years of hard work. I met John probably in 2015, and I think that's when I first started my show on what was the Yahoo Sports Radio Network. John looked at me like, "Hey, you can't sit there." So, but this guy, just great talent. Lance, I used to see Lance in the hallways and would always want to get his thoughts and opinions on the NFL drafts because he is one of the experts. As a matter of fact, every NFL draft, he's all over on every TV station talking about these picks. And look, I'd rather listen to Lance, and I told him this, than Mel Kiper any damn day of the week. So these guys are in the Hall of Fame. So this is great. Congratulations, guys. So look, maybe one of these days, 10, 15 years from here, I might join you guys. I don't know. We're going to see. Anyway, but congratulations. So, all right, second hour of the Mean Gene Show. We are going to, if you missed the first hour, we talked about the AFC South, made my predictions there. And we also talked with one of the Killer Bees, Jeremy Brenham. You can catch him tomorrow afternoon on the Killer Bees show. So we just sort of, wanted to get the AFC South out the way. Wanted you to know how we kind of felt about the Texans and what they should be doing and the expectations for 2024 is going to be. So now this hour, we will look at here in the next couple of minutes. Unfortunately, injuries happened in the preseason. There has been some significant ones, not really bad ones, but there's some news and updates and things that I want to kind of get you up to date that's going on with the rest of the NFL. And also, I am going to talk about the AFC North, which is kind of like one of my favorite divisions because one of my favorite teams play in that division, and that would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we're going to talk about what is going to take place this division. Last year, the AFC North sent 3 teams to the playoffs, which could possibly happen again. It could almost be 4 teams. And that's, we're talking about the Ravens, who made it to the AFC Championship game. We're talking about the Bengals, who should have the full services of their quarterback. And we should also note that the Browns, what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson and the Browns. The expectations are really high. And, of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who got 2 of the best quarterbacks money can buy, or, with the discount tag on Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. And, of course, Mike Tomlin, the experience that he has in that division, him and Harbaugh, they have ruled that division over the last couple of years. But, AJ, the Bengals quarterback, Joe Burrow, you like that new hairdo?
Oh, man, whatever floats his boat.
Is that like some Cody Rhodes?
Basically.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I wouldn't do it, but nah, I think girls like him regardless. So, I don't know, but for him, it's on the field though. That's what we're gonna measure.
You think I can look now? I actually do have hair. Don't let
You
this
gotta grow out a little
bald
bit.
look fool you. I can grow an afro by the end of the damn week if I wanted to. But
An afro?
it might be kind of grayish looking, and I might have to. But I can do the Joe Burrows look.
Hey, I like to see you grow it out one week. That would be funny. Maybe around Halloween, that would be a perfect time.
Yeah. We might have to try that. So now growing the hair is painful because it just like crazy when you don't have it on you. You know, if you're used to being bald. But anyway, so Brian DeArdo, we got to talk about the AFC North and I give you my thoughts on this division is going to be tougher to pick. Unlike the AFC South, you just got too many good damn teams, too many good coaches, and I don't know. It's just it won't be that easy. So let's start with an injury here, which is kind of significant, and the reason why it's significant because it's the Chiefs and it's a wide receiver, which everyone saw last year how despite the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl, they had issues at the wide receiver position, and it's been that way since they let Tyreek Hill go to the Dolphins. But Marquise Hollywood-Brown, he suffered an injury in that preseason game against Jacksonville, and at last report, he was at a local hospital being checked out. Now, according to head coach Andy Reid, they expect him to miss some time. We don't know exactly what that time he was released from the hospital or the facility just Sunday morning, which so that's pretty interesting. So we should see, and I just think he adds some level of depth there for the Chiefs and to where they just don't have to go to Kelsey all the time, but. Marquise Brown, I think the last team he played for was the Arizona Cardinals. I want to say
it was Arizona.
Yeah, so we should see, and we should see. So they have the rookie receiver
Xavier
Worthy, which rookies are going to do well. Look, and we're going to talk a lot about rookies over the next couple of weeks here because next week, and I haven't mentioned this, but next week we're going to do the Sports Kings Fantasy Football Draft in the second hour of the show next week. It's going to be live here. So you get to hear all of the picks and all of that stuff. It's a fast-moving draft. But rookie wide receivers, rookie running backs, I think last year everyone wanted to draft the kid from the Atlanta Falcons, the Texas running back.
Oh, you're talking about Bijan Robinson?
Yeah, so he was, and he did not let down. A couple of years ago, I remember drafting the kid that just went to the Eagles from
Saquon?
Yeah, Saquon Barkley. I ended up taking the Penn State running back, and it was a pretty good year. Believe it or not, AJ, I know you won't believe this, but when your boy Ezekiel Elliott was a rookie, I drafted him. Everyone knows he had one hell of a rookie year.
Him and Dak low-key, I remember back then, I was like a freshman in high school, they were low-key like MVP candidates too. Like they had
they were looking
year.
pretty good. Look, I was at the Pittsburgh Steelers game.
Oh, that game! Oh my gosh!
When
that
the Cowboys beat the Steelers, and somehow there was a breakdown in the defense, and I'm in the end zone, and I'm watching Ezekiel Elliott run towards me.
The end zone too.
And believe me, if I had my damn pads on, I would have knocked him on his ass because I think I was the only one that could have stopped him because the Steelers defense didn't. Yeah, that was just unbelievable, just like the sea parted open. But so these injuries here, and what I'm getting at with these rookies, you just got to draft a rookie. Every year there's a rookie or two that will shine in fantasy football. You just got to draft the right one, and it's not easy. And I think everyone is looking at the wide receiver for the New York Giants, who, as long as he's not fighting in practice, he might get on the field when the regular season starts. So is that Malik Nabers?
Yeah, Malik Nabers.
Yeah, so and I got my eye on him, but I can't really say too much because I know the haters out there who want to beat me in the fantasy football league.
I feel like Keon Coleman, he could be a wild card one too.
Honestly. I think he can. I think so. The kid from Florida State, which he just dropped so far down in the draft, which really surprised me. But yeah, I think he could be one of those guys. But anyway, and also just sort of looking at Buffalo Bills defensive tackle Ed Oliver, a name that everyone in this part of the woods kind of recognized. So he's out with a knee. He didn't necessarily return versus the Bears, but he was cleared to play. All right, so that's kind of interesting. Now, there's also been some roster cuts. Usually, I mean, you're going to get down to this 53-man roster at some point in time. I think everyone is rolling with, 90-plus players now, something like that.
Yeah.
So the cuts will take place as you get deeper into the preseason. But it looks like wide receiver David Davis was waived. And let's see here, looking at the some other injuries here. Some other injuries from the Browns is wide receiver David Bell had a quad injury in that preseason game versus the Packers, and the center Luke Weipler. He's going to have to undergo surgery on a broken ankle that he suffered, and this is according to head coach Kevin Stefanski. So anyway, we already talked about Marquise Brown who didn't return, but anyway, it's just part of the game, and so. And I also, in the next segment, I'll tell you what's going on with Stephon Gilmore. So, hey, you're listening to the Mean Gene Show right here on ESPN 97.5.
This is the Mean Gene Show
On ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
All right. We're moving right along here in the second hour of the Mean Gene Show on a Sunday evening. This is what your Sunday evenings are going to be like, but with more excitement, shouting, screaming, just reliving those plays that are going to take place throughout the regular season. Cannot wait, as Bart Scott said. Can't wait to get out there and bring you to action as it happens every Sunday here. The start of the NFL season is just right around the corner. All right, so we were just sort of talking about some of the NFL news, signings, cuts, injuries, that type of stuff that unfortunately happens here, with the season. So Stephon Gilmore played with the Dallas Cowboys last year. Apparently is still looking for a team. AJ, is there a chance that he could end up back with Dallas?
I wanted him back, that's for sure. Because I mean, especially with Diggs coming back too, you could have a three-headed monster with Bland, Diggs, and Gilmore. But now Jerry Jones doing Jerry Jones things,
Yeah.
being incompetent. So
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, Gilmore is supposed to visit the Vikings on Monday, and this is according to my friend from the NFL Network, and that's Tom Pelissero. So we should see. You know, I mean, a cornerback like Stephon Gilmore is he had a decent year. Did a lot of damage with the Patriots, right? Before I think he played with the Patriots.
the
before he came.
Patriots, and then he went to the Panthers for that one season, and
Yeah.
the Colts too, and then Dallas. Yeah.
So he still got a little bit left there in the
Right.
tank. So we should see. The let's see here so some other interesting news here. I really want to talk about some of the games that kind of took place today in the preseason, because here in the next segment we're going to have Brian DiArdo talking about the AFC North. But I didn't get to talk as much as I wanted to about Bo Nix, because Bo Nix was a sort of a controversial figure into that draft, because people didn't know. He played with Auburn, then he went to Oregon, and he is probably one of the most experienced of all the rookies, I would say.
The most for sure. I think he's the most experienced college quarterback of all time.
Yeah, so I don't know what the Broncos are planning to do. You ever just lock yourself out of your phone and you can't get back in at the moment when you really need to get in. But anyway, I'm trying to get to these stats here. I know that he had a good game today, and I also know that there's some competition, and I know that Zach, the quarterback from the Jets, is also on
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson also had a good game today, which if you're Sean Payton, you're looking for someone who's gonna remind you of Drew Brees, which I don't think there's never going to be another Drew Brees. But I did like what I saw from Bo Nix, and I would not be surprised. But you got to think Zach Wilson he's sort of like in a Sam Darnold type situation there, where he really was in a good position to do well when Aaron Rodgers went down last year, and he didn't, and a lot of people could say that the Jets didn't really do much to help him out. So now he's with the Broncos. I see a quarterback competition between Wilson and Bo Nix, although I think right now it's Bo Nix's job to lose.
Most definitely. No, I agree with that. Zach Wilson in New York, I mean, you could just tell he just needed a change of scenery, especially last year. When you watch those games, it was just for him not to mess up. He had that good game against the Chiefs. I remember that one, but they were just trying to get him not to mess up. You don't want to play football like that. So we'll certainly see what they do and how the competition goes with him and Bo Nix. But I think it's
there's one more, though. There's one
yeah.
more. And so I got my phone open now.
Okay, bet.
So Jarrett Stidham.
Right.
So Sean Payton decides to start him. So I think this is a 3 quarterback race. I do, even though when you look at the numbers, though, Wilson was 10 of 13 for 117. Bo Nix, 15 of 21 for 125. He did have the touchdown, and Stidham threw the interception, but he is still probably the more experienced of the 3, even though he's been bounced around, for a little bit. So I see a true 3-way quarterback controversy between Stidham and Nix and Wilson.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like Broncos fans, though, they're probably going to be lobbying for Bo Nix to play because, first round pick, everything like that. You want to see your guy go there. I really don't think that a lot of Broncos fans believe in Zach Wilson as well. Stidham, he played a little last year and stuff like that, but you have your first round quarterback. I think that's the future right there. They're probably going to bank on him at some point. I feel like that's just my opinion. But.
Okay. All right. Hey, look here. We all have opinions and they belong to us. No one can take them away from us. And I look, I'm not a Broncos fan, so I just really hope they suck. So it's just good conversation. Not a Sean Payton fan either. So and next week I get more into the AFC West, because everyone knows until you beat the Kansas City Chiefs, you really don't. Second place may not do nothing for you. Second place won't do anything for you in the AFC West when you got the AFC North, who has teams like the Ravens, the Browns, and
Bengals.
the Bengals and the Steelers. So I mean, I really think that all four of those teams. I'm going to hold my, don't want to get ahead of myself here, but and look, and it's sorry. I know a lot of Raider fans. Okay, and I like the Raiders. We spent a lot of time out there with them when we did our residency at Virgin Hotels in Las Vegas. So, but man, I don't know. I mean, there could always be that drop off from the Chiefs, but I just think the AFC is just going to be so jam packed. Even when you look at the South that we just talked about, you got to think. I mean, how many teams? 2 teams could get in from the AFC South, and you get 3 from the AFC North. That's not going to leave a lot. That's just going to leave the Chiefs, and I mean, you're just really going to have to win 12, 13 games.
Right, and then the AFC North too. You have the Bills, you have the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, so it's just going to get tough. I mean, you can only what is it?
Jets too.
7, right? I mean,
7.
So it's going to be tough, and before all of this is said and done, when we get to, we're going to cover every division, and then we're going to make our picks as far as I'm going to make my picks on who I think is going to win the AFC and the 2 teams that are going to represent the AFC in the AFC Championship game, and I have to pick my Super Bowl winner. All of this stuff has to be done before the first game. So that first game of the season, September 5th, we have to have this stuff done. And on the Mean Gene Show, we have to have it done the week prior to that. So like to get your thoughts, though, 713-780-3776 as we get prepared to talk about the AFC North here in a little bit. And so the one thing that I haven't mentioned is that, and I don't know if anyone has talked about this, but the NFL is really, really, really looking at an 18-game schedule at some point in time. This has been talked about a lot. Of course, they have to get this done with the union. Everyone has to be on board. But you say, wow, we went from 14 to 16, 17, and it's going to be 18, which means the preseason is going to cut down even more. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, AJ? You saw an 18-game schedule.
It's money. It's money for sure.
Yeah.
And I remember I heard Roger Goodell say something like he doesn't even like the preseason anyways, though. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure the players will have something to say. I don't know if you saw Joe Burrow. He proposed something like having teams have a 2-week bye week, 2 bye weeks, and then having an 18-game schedule.
Yeah, but what the hell are we supposed to do for 2 weeks?
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, I guess they can spread it
right,
out.
Well, yeah,
right.
Like how it usually is. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, 18 games, man, that's a long season. That is a long season. So I can't wait to see. Yeah, the money is there. Certainly, that's why the NFL is going to play a regular season game on a Friday in Brazil, of all places. It doesn't matter if the fans don't know jack crap about the game. It's a matter of the amount of money that's going to be, pumping into the NFL. And believe me, folks, hey, get ready. Whatever you're going to be paying for your Sunday ticket. And, of course, don't forget about the app. If you just happen not to be at home, you have to purchase the $5.99 app. And one of the things I guess I didn't too much care for, and it doesn't matter whether I liked it or not, is the games on Prime Video now. A lot of people who, a lot of fans, like I would say my age and maybe older, that, have always had free access to NFL games. And folks now you have to pretty much have every app available to see a game. You have to have a subscription to everything. So if you're gonna get the Prime Video, I think that comes at about $16 a month or something like that. If you, and for the Thursday night games or whatever, and I think they tried something different last year. You just be ready. Just be ready to have about 10 different subscriptions out there where you're going to have to watch these NFL games.
Exactly. And NBA starting to do the same thing, too, because they're going to have Amazon Prime and then Peacock as well. So, I mean, we're seeing these sports leagues, try to cash in even more.
That's why the TVs come with all those damn apps now, because pretty soon you're going to have to log into them and pay for them. So, anyway, folks, all right, we are going to step away. When we come back, my great friend from CBSSports.com, senior writer Brian DiArdo is going to join us. You're listening to The Mean Gene Show, ESPN 97.5.
You're listening to The Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
for the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
All right, we are back. Bottom of the second hour, Mean Gene Show here, ESPN 97.5 on a Sunday, talking AFC North football, okay? No more South right now. We're going to get into Steelers, Ravens, Bengals, and Browns, all right? And I think I am joined by my great friend who knows more about this division than anybody. He is a senior writer for CBSSports.com, and I'm talking about Brian D'Ardo. What's up, Brian?
Hey, me and Gene, always good to talk to you. And it was a wild early preseason weekend. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay. I was able to get through the AFC South predictions, and I was anticipating the North because you were coming on, and I'm excited to talk. But one of your articles I read, Brian, and that was you're gonna have to tell us about what happened with Marcus Golden, because that was when I read that I'm like, what just happened? Please tell what happened.
Yeah, it was like the weirdest situation. It was like just before the Steelers preseason opener, he decided to retire, and he had just signed with the Steelers about a week ago. And one thing that Mike Tomlin said when he was asked, he only gave one comment about it. And he said, if football is a hard sport, if his heart wasn't in it, it was probably the best decision. So, he's had a really good career. Started out with the Cardinals back in 15, he's had 3 10-sack seasons. And when I was doing my research on the article, I found out in I think it was one of his years with the Giants, he was the first linebacker for the Giants to have a double-digit sack season since Lawrence Taylor, which is kind of incredible. And it seems, my thoughts on it, though, I think part of it was, his heart just couldn't have been in it. But I think they moved to Marvin Leal, who's been an emerging defensive lineman for them, to outside linebacker. And I think he looked at that potentially. And Nick Herbig, who's a second-year outside linebacker for Pittsburgh, who has really, really shown some strides, and he's going to be good too. Maybe he just looked at it and said, hey, I'm not going to play anyways. What's the point? I'm not quite sure. But yeah, that was a really odd story and kind of an under-the-radar one. But yeah, the Steelers now, I think they worked out some linebackers today because, they're a little bit thin at outside linebacker, and they're going to have to address that now with Golden's retirement. Yeah,
that's quite interesting. Anyway, folks, once again, we're talking with CBSSports.com senior writer Brian D'Ardo, covers the AFC North. So your thoughts on the preseason game versus the Texans, where, the first 2 quarters, the Steelers put up a goose egg, and I want to get your thoughts on Justin Fields.
Well, first I thought that it was, I'm sure Houston fans love seeing Tank Dell come back and looks great, right? And I thought, Stroud, they didn't play very much, but when he played, he looked good. And I thought Kate Stover, the rookie tight end from Ohio State, who obviously Stroud is familiar with, I thought he looked great the entire game. And Davis Mills, and I had a buddy of mine told me he placed a bet on the Steelers, and I go, preseason games, you put your money on the teams with the good backups. So
exactly.
Davis Mills is a good backup, man. So you gotta go with them. But I thought that the Texans looked good. I thought their defense was really good, and I thought that I thought Fields played overall well. I think the snap exchange, the center quarterback snap exchanges that led to those fumbles really hurt. And there's some argument about the sacks he took, whether those were coverage sacks or that was Fields holding onto the ball. And that was always the question back in Chicago was, were those coverage sacks, or how much of his turnovers and sacks were the result of him holding the ball too long and being careless with the ball relative to, some of the other players around him not being good enough or not executing well enough. And I think it was a combination of both. I think for Fields, it was hard to evaluate him because the Steelers had several shuffles on their offensive line because they're trying to figure out, Troy Fautanu, the first-round pick, can he be their starting right tackle, which is what they want? Zach Frazier, can he be their starting center? Who he wasn't the center when they had the fumbles. He actually played better than Nate Herbig, who's the brother of Nick, and then Mason McCormick, who's a rookie guard. I think the third drive they had all three rookies in at one point, and that ironically I think was their best drive. So, but it was hard to evaluate him. And that was a tough Houston defense to play. And I know they didn't have all their starters in, but they had enough guys. And Daniel Hunter had a welcome to the NFL moment for Furtado when he bull rushed him and threw Fields down. So
Yeah.
I thought overall, I mean, he was 5 for 5, and then he would have been 6 for 6 if Tomlin challenged a play they thought was incomplete. The officials ruled incomplete. But I thought overall it was good. Unfortunately for Fields, though, the bottom line is no points on 3 drives. So you're not going to. He didn't put any. Basically, what I'm saying is, Gene, he did not put any heat on Russell Wilson from that performance, and it's going to be hard now for him to be out Wilson because we're assuming Wilson's going to start the Steelers' next preseason game, so Fields will be relegated to backup duty. But what I'm hearing from camp today was that Wilson did not have a great day and really didn't ramp up his participation as much as we would have thought.
Well, look, I understand the Wilson situation, and knowing that Tomlin is going to stick with, his choice. He's not going to make things that interesting. But when it comes to the backup, though, and what we saw with Justin Fields, and then what we ultimately saw with Kyle Allen, I mean, do we have a controversy for the number 2 spot?
Gene, that's a phenomenal question. That's why you're Mean Gene. That's why you got your show. That's just, man, that's a great question. I hadn't really thought about that question. I think the answer is no.
Okay.
Because I think they look at who Fields was competing against, and I think they look at what he does for that offense. But I will say, I think they were impressed with him because I think during camp, he's had some really promising days, and then he's had some days where you're like, well, that's why he's a perennial backup, right? He was a starter for a very, very brief moment in the NFL. And again, like you said, to me, he was kind of like Tyler Heineke, where it was like, if he's your starter, you could potentially win if he's on his game, but it doesn't take much for him to be off his game, and then you're going to lose, right? But no, I mean, like to your point, he had some really good throws.
Yeah.
He's good off play action, and he had some momentum there in that second half. There's no doubt about it. And that touchdown pass to Connor Hayward was nice. But that is something, though, if you're a Steelers fan, the second preseason game. And now, since you put that on my radar, Gene, I will be watching the second preseason game. That's something I didn't think about. I agree. I think the starting quarterback right now is clearly Wilson. But, yeah, I mean, if Fields has another, scoring drive outing and Allen keeps doing that, I think that could be a legitimate storyline this time next week.
Well, look, as history would have it, when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, third-string quarterbacks have started an entire season. So you just never know. I mean, gone are the days of Trubisky and Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph, which, let us not forget, what was the guy's name? Duck? What do we call him? Duck?
Devlin Duck Hodges, the immortal. Absolutely, yes.
So there we're talking about the 4th-string quarterback, right? So, it's just something if you're a Steelers fan, you have to think about, okay, when you see some folks just look at the competition on the field and knowing that, Kyle Allen had that one pass that if he just looked and hit the guy earlier, he would have had a touchdown early on in that game. So it's just something to look at. But look, I am going to be making my selections here in the next segment on the AFC North, which is just really tough to pick, Brian, because, you get 3 teams in there in the playoffs last year. There are folks out there talking that possibly 4 teams could make the playoffs. All 4 teams could make it from that division. So what are your thoughts on the AFC North?
I think it's going to be a really interesting division because I think every team is so familiar with each other, and a lot of the Steelers' strengths go against the Bengals' direct weaknesses, vice versa. And I think, there's going to be so many good positions or like games within the games. Like, for example, the Bengals have a great receiving core, and it looks like Jermaine Burton, their rookie, is going to step in and be a better version of what Tyler Boyd had been for Cincinnati. Looks like he's ready to go. They've got Mike Gesicki. Chase Brown looks pretty good. I think them losing Joe Mixon to Houston is really going to hurt them. And their defense is still pretty solid. They give up a lot of yards. I think Cleveland's probably going to be last. I'm going to be honest with you. I think they're last. I'm not feeling good about Baltimore this year either. I don't really love the moves they made this offseason. And it does seem like every now and then Harbaugh has a stinker, right? Like, I know 21, they finished 8-9, and a lot of that, again, was Lamar getting hurt, and they just slid after he was hurt. But every now and then, John Harbaugh just has a stink, and I think that this could be one of those years he has a stink. I just think they have too many question marks everywhere, specifically at receiver, right? And then you look at, I think it'd be Browns last, Ravens third, Steelers second, Bengals first. But the Steelers, have had the Bengals number. They did last year. I know the second time they beat Cincinnati, Joe Burrow wasn't in uniform. But I think for the Steelers, the biggest question mark is going to be the quarterback play.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing. Is Russell Wilson going to give them steady play? He doesn't need to be Russell Wilson, like MVP candidate, like year 2020, right? He needs to be maybe a better version of Russell Wilson last year. And Sean Payton, inadvertently, I think, kind of criticized Russell Wilson last week when he was talking about Bo Nix, and he said, "I love how he gets the ball out of his hands quickly." And he even said, like, with quarterbacks, the sack totals, I blame them more than the offensive line. And that's probably why they wanted to get rid of Russell Wilson. He's been sacked an average of like 44 times his career or something like that, which is way more than most average quarterbacks. And so, yeah, he's got to not get sacked like that. But I think that whole offense, even without Brandon Ayuk, is still good. And that defense, I think, is ready to take the next step. So, but we'll see. But I only think the teams, Gene, are going to get out of that division. I think only Pittsburgh, if the quarterback plays good, and I think that division Cincinnati should own and win if Joe Burrow stays healthy.
Okay. Well, Brian, look, man, I know it's Sunday night. We're going to be respectful of your time here, and I got this difficult task of trying to put these four teams in order. So, look, I know we're going to have you on pretty much the entire season, so I cannot wait to see how things develop in that AFC North.
Yeah, and if I'm wrong about this prediction, just erase this copy and we'll be good to go. But if I'm right, then just promote this on Twitter and we'll be happy. So.
We'll be happy. All right, folks. Once again, Brian DeArdo, CBSSports.com senior writer, joining us here on the Mean Gene Show. And I am going to, I tell you what, the reason why I say four teams make it from this division last year is because the AFC North was the only division that had all four teams had a winning record. Okay, the Ravens finished at 13-4, the Browns 11-6, the Steelers 10-7. Just a crazy year with the Pittsburgh Steelers. How somehow they still managed to go 10-7, and the Bengals go 9-8. Now I'm gonna have a treat for Bengal fans here in the next couple of for the regular season. Ickey Woods, who used to play with you remember Ickey Woods, AJ?
No, sir.
No.
I don't think so.
You don't know nothing about the Ickey Shuffle?
No, sir.
I keep forgetting you were born in
22.
2002.
Yeah, yes, sir.
All right, I'll be damned. I'm not going to ask you any more questions about anything past 2000.
Well, I do know some of my football history, though, so it just depends. But I do know a good amount.
When was the last time the Cowboys made it to the NFC Championship game?
1995-96 season.
You know you wasn't born then. Right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, like 7
You
years.
may have been thought of at that time, but you wasn't. Yeah. Okay.
Nah, but I know that stat, of course.
All right. Well, look, I tell you what. So it's going to be fun. We worked with Ickey in Las Vegas, and he is a big-time Cincinnati Bengals. Used to be a running back for UNLV. The Bengals made it to the Super Bowl, and they played the San Francisco. I think it was the San Francisco 49ers, and they lost. So anyway, Ickey Woods, big-time Cincinnati Bengals guy. All right. When we come back, I will give you my choices for the AFC North. Who's going to win? All right. It's the Mean Gene Show right here on ESPN 97.5.
You're listening to The Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
for the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
All right, we're about to wrap it up here on a Sunday evening. Last segment here on the Mean Gene Show. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. We just talked with my great friend from CBSSports.com, Brian DiArdo, talking about the AFC North. He covers the entire AFC North, Bengals, Steelers, Browns, and Ravens. So I guess it's time for me to sort of make my picks here. But before I do that, okay, I want to tell you what's going to be happening next week on the Mean Gene Show. The Sports Kings 2024 Fantasy Football Draft will take place right here, the second hour of this show. So I don't know. This is about the time of the year where everyone is getting into the fantasy football leagues and everything. Some people wait all the way up till maybe the end of the month, a week before the season starts, but we're going to do it now. And some people like to kind of look at the preseason to see what not the starters are necessarily doing, but some of these rookies are going to do. AJ, are you going to partake in any fantasy football leagues this year?
Oh yeah, yes sir. Probably like 2 at the most, 3 probably, yeah, but 2 usually is what I do. So we have the drafts like at the end of August typically. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And believe it or not, now a lot of people go to Las Vegas. They have one humongous fantasy football draft in Las Vegas, and I mean like thousands of people
I didn't even know that. Honestly.
will go to not just one particular hotel, but all over. They have this massive. It's always like the 27th, 28th, 29th of the month where thousands of people go out there and do their fantasy football draft. Now we did one out there last year because we were broadcasting on another show, but it's always fun to do. So we're going to do it here. So it's going to be a lot of stuff going on here next year, okay, because I really got to make sure I do well. In this particular league, I have not finished higher than 8th place, which, yeah, I know it's bad. But now, and this is why we get into multiple leagues, like we just said. I did win a league last year. And so I won my ESPN league. How appropriate, right? That's the one we're supposed to win, right?
Right.
So so that's going to be fun. So anyway, so I got this week will be a lot of looking at, teams, quarterbacks, everything to see, what's going to happen. So that's going to be interesting. Also, next week, we will break down the AFC East. And my old producer, John Belmer, knows about the AFC East and my relationship with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, I'm not an Aaron Rodgers fan, but it's going to be interesting to see. And I really got to get my thoughts together for the AFC East because with Rodgers coming back and with the Bills losing 2 wide receivers, I don't know. And I always said that window of opportunity for the Bills, I think, may have just closed. I don't know. And then you got to look at Miami. Tua has his money now, so that's going to be interesting. I think the Patriots, that's going to probably be an easy division to pick because we know the Patriots should finish somewhere near last, if not last. And then we will also look at the AFC West. So it would be my first time sort of talking about the Raiders and the Chiefs and the Broncos and the Chargers, which I just can't, a lot of different changes with the Chargers, with Jim Harbaugh and no Austin Eckler. So it's going to be interesting. And then even looking at the Raiders situation, looking at their preseason game this weekend and seeing what that quarterback situation is going to look like for them and the running back situation. And so it's going to be interesting. So we're going to have fun with the AFC East, the AFC West, and a fantasy football draft. All of that's going to be on the next week's show. Mean Gene Show. So let's get into the predictions. So, I am going to say the Ravens will finish first, and that's not something that I can really say. It's I hate saying it, but I just have to look at, adding Derrick Henry to the Raiders. To the Ravens. It's just, I think it does a lot. It does a lot for Lamar Jackson. It does a lot for that team. I think that team, I don't know. I think they were they could have been in the Super Bowl had they just not changed their game plan last year. I don't know what. I don't know what the hell happened with the Ravens, and the Chiefs, they could have beat the Chiefs last year. So I got to give them, and they showed that they were them and the Bengals are the only teams that can hang with the Chiefs when they need to. So and that's going to be interesting. And of course, the Ravens, they eliminated the Texans, so that AFC is going to be really interesting. Going to be a lot of the Ravens are coming to town, right? I believe they're coming to town.
I forgot which week, but
take on the Texans. So it's going to be interesting to see if But I think the Ravens are going to finish first. I think the Bengals, with Joe Burrow's coming back, I think the Bengals have a chance to finish second in that division. I got the Pittsburgh Steelers third, and that breaks my heart to have to go there. Don't be smiling over on the other side of that damn glass. The reason why is because okay, look, they could well be second, but remember this division is probably going to get 3 teams in the playoffs, so third may not be bad. It just depends on where you end up in the pecking order for the playoffs. But no, I don't know. It depends on Russell Wilson. Russell is not going to play 17 games. I don't see how that's going to happen. And I just brought up with Brian that, and I know what we saw from Justin Fields was just a little small sample. He could well solidify that number 2 spot. But I did like what I saw from Allen. I'm not going to lie. But I think the Steelers are in a good situation, though. I think they will finish third in that division. And then we got the Cleveland Browns, who a team that the Texans just demolished in the playoffs, but it's going to be a different look Browns with Deshaun Watson if he's able to play the full season. And I think this is the year where the Browns, the Browns organization, the Browns fans want something for their money. They want something for that big contract that Deshaun Watson has. And, this is going to have to be the year. So either he gets it done this year. I would not be surprised if the Browns do finish 4th and don't make the playoffs, then you could probably see the end of Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. How they get rid of that big contract, I have no idea. But anyway, we'll talk about it next week because we're done here, folks. Hope you enjoyed the show. I want to thank my guest, Jeremy Brenham. And, of course, Brian Diardo and my producer, AJ. We'll see you back here next week on the Mean Gene Show right here on ESPN 97.5.